What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on these analysis. We're going to be checking out Bitcoin and MSTR today. I've been taking a little bit of a break. Like I kind of just got burnt out a little bit, making a ton of videos. So I'll be making videos, but probably a little bit less frequently. I've just been at work focused on increasing my income so that I can accumulate as many shares, because I was kind of anticipating this drawdown. So I've been stacking some SGov, some cash, buying some other assets for the past 2 or 3 months, kind of accumulating, getting ready. Main reason being, if you guys have been around the channel long enough, you know that we were talking about this phase right here where you have an upswing, which we got, right, from the bottom of the channel to the top. And then following that, you can see that we got a move to the bottom of the channel following that. So you can see that pattern being formed here. We've already talked about this plenty of times before. And then the next move from the bottom of the channel to the middle of the channel, right there. And then that was the top. And we got to move to the middle of the channel. And this potentially could have been the top, I would assume, after seeing the price action. And then following that, you got your bear market to the bottom of the channel. And now this is where we could be at potentially. Obviously, this red circle down here is more of a guideline. Let me take these off. The reason I say it's just a guideline, because this red dot is going to move. It all depends on when we come into contact with it. If Bitcoin drops today all the way down to 60 something thousand, low 60s, maybe 58,000, we'll make contact with it. But if it takes all the way until, let's say, September or August, then that's only going to be 74,000. So there's just different ways that it could go. It could happen. Maybe we hit it, stay outside of the bottom of this channel for a little bit, and then start to move back up, similar to these moves over here. But if I were to just take an educated guess, I'm going to say that making contact with this bottom, you're going to be near the bottom of Bitcoin's move, I would assume, if we follow this trend. And I think we will, just based off of the price action back then. You can see every time we hit it, we're there for maybe 2 or 3 months, and then we're gone from there. So this could be a really good time to accumulate. Like I said, if your job allows you to pick up overtime, or if you have a side hustle, or your business, this is the time to start accumulating. I started DCAing, at like 85, I started reaccumulating, but it was a light accumulation, accumulating other assets. But now that we're back underneath 80, I'm starting to pick it up a little bit. And then under 70, I'm going to start adding BitX, which is a 2x version of Bitcoin. Because if we see a run, for instance, to about 200, 250K or something like that. I don't know why my screen is frozen. Oh, there we go. Okay. So if we run up to around 250K, for instance, let's say we do hit this bottom. I don't know if it's going to happen. We'll go from 70,000, or about 70. If we run up to 200K, from that point on, that's 184%. If you're in the 2x version, of course, it's 360%. And if you run up to 250K, that's 250%. And then if you're in the 2x version, that's 500%. But you also have to understand that comes with more drawdown risk, because you have to anticipate, let's say we're at 78 and you start accumulating now. If we drop to 65,000, that's another 18% times 2, about 36. Maybe sometimes the leverage is a little bit different. You might draw down a little bit more or slightly less to the downside. And sometimes it magnifies because of the compounding effect to the upside. So that 250% move could end up being like 600, 650 instead of just being 500. So it's just something to think about. We're going to just take a look at some of these indicators here. we just fell underneath our 20-month moving average. So the last time we fell underneath our 20-month moving average, as you can see, was right here in 2022. And we all know what happened in 2022. We just confirmed a break and hold in December. We retested, and now we actually have that confirmed hold. And on the monthly, we got to close back inside of these wicks, which was a strong level of support, and underneath this trend line that was sloping upward. So this is a very, very important piece right here. This is pretty much the golden opportunity right here to DCA this whole move right here. Anything that happens underneath this trend line, I think, is going to be one of those times where you're like, man, I wish I was buying in 2025 or 2026. Sorry, I forgot, it's the new year. Wish I was buying in 2026, because that's going to be one of those where the same way you look at 2022, you look at 2019, 2020, and you look at 2018, 2019 down here. So this is one of those opportunities. Just take advantage while you can. Maybe we come into contact with this 50-month moving average right here, which would be insane. That's very, very powerful. And on the weekly, the last time we got this exact same crossover, which is the 20 pushing underneath the 50. The 50 is the yellow and pink. The 20 is the blue and white. Last time we got a move like that was over here in March 2022, and we all know what happened after. We can kind of expect something like that again, and we got it over here as well in 2018. So let's see what's to come. The momentum obviously is extremely bearish. We do have some new things going on where Trump selected Kevin Warsh for the new Fed. He was previously hawkish in the past, but apparently he's having a more dovish outlook on the market. So we'll see how that plays out. But right now, this is just an amazing opportunity, and not financial advice, of course. I'm just letting you know a little bit about what I'm doing. And here's MSTR, which we were talking about for a while now, saying that we could potentially make it down to this level. That's why we have it drawn out. This has been drawn out for forever now. This level here is a major level of support from this recent price action over here in 2021, and then this move that we had in 2024 that we bounced off of it and catapulted from it. So this could be a major level right here to catch a bounce. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. We could fall right through it, but this is just a major level right here. I know it's a big range, but it's because we have a major wick over here, and we've had a lot of price action in this area. We might be able to tighten it up slightly to around there, but it's still roughly the same area. And this downward sloping trend line here, if we come into contact with it, there should be confluence to help price bounce. But yeah, I mean, we talked about it before, and I know people were upset that I was bearish, but I mean, look what happened, guys. Like, it's not about what makes you happy or what makes me happy and what we want to see, but it's just looking at price action, and this is what we've been talking about for a while now. So, and it's playing out. So on the monthly, incredibly bearish close. So we have a lot of bearish momentum, incredibly bearish close right here, where you can see the bulls were trying to take over with this wick here, pushed up, and the bears pushed it right back down. Same thing happened again. The bulls have completely lost momentum. It looks like we could be falling to this next structure. So the next thing we're going to be talking about would be really making contact here, chopping, and seeing if we want to make like a double bottom and shoot back up, or it's going to chop and then potentially another bear flag to lower levels, maybe 100 bucks, 85 bucks, I don't know. Who knows? In reference to the last major drop, if we go from the top here to the bottom, it was about 90% roughly. Obviously the market cap's much larger, so what if we get like an 80% drop? 80% drop puts us at around 105. 85% drop puts us at around 80 bucks. So, I mean, we're definitely nearing that point where we could be turning around. Maybe maybe it takes a couple of months to play out. Like I said, these moves take forever. It's not something overnight. That's why people get too emotional with the swings and stuff, and they say this is going to happen, this is wrong, whatever, but it takes time for these moves to play out. So nobody ever knows. So that's why you always hear me talk about both scenarios on this channel. If we were to hit that 81 mark, that's another 45% drawdown. So you have to be prepared for that mentally. But if you were accumulating up here and you enjoyed MSTR, then you should love it down here. I don't think MSTR is dead. It's just part of the cycle. This is during 2022. Remember, it leads Bitcoin a lot of the times. So this is just nothing new. This is what MSTR does. And we'll overlay Bitcoin to kind of get an idea. Here you can see that MSTR slightly led Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin started to fall after in this last cycle. And we kind of got the same thing here, where Bitcoin was kind of still making its peak and MSTR was already falling off. So now Bitcoin's really just tracing what MSTR has been doing this whole time. So we'll see what happens with the bottom. If MSTR bottoms prior and starts to lead, a lot of times it looks like it might end up flipping at the bottom. It looks like Bitcoin slightly started to move up as MSTR is finishing its downward momentum. But then they start to track once again as you continue to the upside. And that's the fun part. This is what we want to see again. But of course, it takes time and you have to be patient. You got to give this thing, if you're accumulating right now, you got to give this thing 2.5, 3 years to play out if you really want to see major upside. So be aware of that. In terms of SMA, we are at the 50-month SMA, which is a major level of support. We talked about it, I think, in the last video. Yeah, it's sitting at around 135. On the weekly, we are at the 200, which is at, oh no, I'm sorry, we talked about the 200 week in the last video. At the time, I think it was at like 141 or something like that. Remember, it slowly moves up with each candle that's a week. We made contact with it at 145. We push down to 139. If we lose this, then expect even lower levels. Let's see what happened last time we broke underneath the 200 week. Last time we broke the 200 week in this 2022 bear market, we proceeded to fall another 55%. So let's say we fall another 45% because the market cap's a little bit larger. If we fall another 45%, that kind of lines up with what we were just saying. We said 81 bucks. That puts us at around 79. You know, these are just guesstimates. It doesn't have to happen. It could stop at 100 bucks. And I'm not bearish on it. Like I said, I still think next cycle it'll end up pushing back up. But yeah, we just got to keep an eye on Bitcoin, and this is really going to be the main determining factor of what we do and how we accumulate. But yeah, under 70, it's going to start accumulating BitX. And honestly, if MSTR hits 100, I probably would go and put a large sum of money into MSTR. Yeah, I'm kind of like trying to be cautiously DCAing strategically. Pretty much like I said, I was starting to accumulate at around 85, 80, somewhere in that ballpark of Bitcoin, you know, with the sideways action. I knew this was a cheap opportunity, but not too cheap. Now I'm heavily adding Bitcoin, gonna start adding heavily, maybe even below 70, 72, 70 for BitX. And then if we hit the 60s, start heavily accumulating MSTR. Because pretty much I'm going down the risk, like the risk, I guess, chain, if you want to call it that. Because MSTR is the most volatile, than BitX, than regular Bitcoin. That's kind of how I'm playing it out. You guys let me know what you think. Tether dominance has been absolutely catapulting. We were hoping to see a move to the downside, but it looks like we talked about this before a while back, saying maybe that was the move, and I guess that was the top. Of course, it's so hard to know in the moment because you really don't know, because price could have done, instead of taking off through here, it could have topped there, or tether dominance could have topped there and came back for another touch. But of course, it didn't happen. So now this is in a super bearish area. And the last time we saw a break above this structure was June 2022. And we all know what happened in that period. We had a major move to the downside. We see our tops on Bitcoin when we make contact with the blue line, and then we tend to see the opposite. We see bottoms on tether dominance peaks. So we'll see how long this goes for, but yeah, we just broke above this key level of support and resistance. So we are in that phase once again. Let me take this off so it's a little bit cleaner. But yeah, we are back within this range that we saw in 2022. And I'll overlay Bitcoin for people who haven't seen that. You can see those bottoms right there. So you got that peak on tether dominance, and that was incredibly bearish times for Bitcoin. We did find our bottom at this secondary like top, I guess you could say. It was like a double top kind of. That's when we saw the full bottom in November. So we'll see what happens. It looks like that was that top over here for Bitcoin. That's pretty much all I have for you guys. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. Is the top in? Where do you think the bottom is going to be? What quarter do you think it's going to happen in? What price range do you think the bottom will be at? Will it be at 65, 55, 70? You let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next one.